everyone knows I'm a huge wrestling fan. And being a 90s kid, you knew about the Undertakers, the Hulk Hogan's, the Ultimate Warriors, for lack of a better term. Hell, Bret the Hitman Hart. But there was a name that you would hear in shadows. The most dangerous wrestler to ever hit the ring. Scars covering his body like a roadmap, a hit list of his greatest attractions. Sabu, the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal monster of ECW. But who is Sabu? Today I get the proofs of finding out. What's going on, man?
Hey.
So that being said, I was terrified of you as a kid. I talked to Raven recently, and I loved Raven. He was my like when I was 11 years old. I saw him for the first time on my birthday. But I had heard of you when I started tape trading because of looking into Raven. And I saw you come out in the fucking Hannibal Lecter mask, all this and that. And before, you know what? The fact you're putting that out, I'd be remiss not to say, rest in peace.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's Super Genie Melissa Coates. She died about 1.5 years ago.
I tried to reach out to you back then. I knew you were going through a hard time, but yeah, she was part of it. She made things wonderful. Like I loved watching her with you. I'm so grateful. Let's celebrate that. I'll put is there a GoFundMe or anything that we can contribute to her?
No. It was just no. There was nothing like that. But thank you anyways. I appreciate it.
When we put this together, I'll put in memory of her on it. I'll put it up just to that little bit. That being said, there's been many an interview, many a documentary talking about you coming into ECW, trying to make a quick buck off some guy named Paul Heyman, and they put you in a mask on a gurney. Tell me about that. I'm sure you've answered this question 100 times. Tell me about that.
The deal was I got booked into ECW. Paulie wasn't the boss yet, so I got booked in, and he had to get. They fired Eddie Gilbert the same day I came in, and they hired Paul. So Paul had said, "Hey, I got an idea for you." Like he didn't know I was going to be there. He was like, "I got an idea for you." He had this cheap plastic Hannibal Lecter mask, and a dolly, you know, the what you carry a refrigerator in or something.
Yeah.
And I said I wouldn't do it. Then he begged me to do it, and he gave me $500 extra to do it. So I did it.
Yeah.
And then I made him pay me $500 every time extra to do it because I didn't want to do it. And finally, he stopped paying me and he stopped making me do it. But he never put much thought into it. He always had a makeshift dolly, never like a real gurney or real chains. One time they used yellow plastic chains to hold me in. I had to stop from breaking the chains on accident. You know, it was terrible.
Well, tell me about that. Like I've heard you go on record to say that's not who you are. That's too much effort to do all that shit. Like
it was a lot of effort, and it was already being done by a friend of mine in Japan. So I looked like a deliberate copycat from him when I didn't have to be. I had my own thing, you know. And if they wanted him, if they wanted that, they should have hired him.
Fuck him. But nobody was you, right? Like, okay. Talking about your body of work in ECW and the things you did with tables. Like me and Raven had talked about it. You're so fucking brilliant. You should have made millions in the business because of all the innovations you made. All the table spots you did. You said you used to drop on fucking tables at the end. I think you said your uncle brought it up. What do you do? And he said, I'll jump through tables. And you kept busting your knees. What was the point of that?
No. We had a tag team match, and we lost. Yeah. And then after the match, you know, people were still going crazy for us because they liked him anyways. And he said, "Get back in the ring and get your heat back."
Yeah.
And I go, "What do you want me to do?" And he goes, "Think of something." And I looked around. I go, "How about I moonsault the table?" And he goes, "What's that?" I go, "I'll show you." So I ran over through a table in the ring and then moonsault to the table, and it broke. It was a couple of times after that where I started bouncing off on him, you know.
Well, tell me this. You know, you didn't have to say a lot. You just had a presence that gave you that. People feared Sabu. Did you?
Well, I don't know about fear, but you know, I think they believed what I was doing. You know, and that was the trick. You know, if you can make it so that people believe it, then you get an A for the project. You know what I mean?
No, I mean you could turn anybody to a mark. I mean, like I was a kid and I was terrified.
And it wasn't it all work. It was probably a half shoot. You know, where a lot of the times when I went to do something, I didn't know exactly where I was going to land or if I was going to hurt them. I just figured I wouldn't and didn't care until after I did it, you know.
That's a hell of a philosophy to have, you know, like, and you're putting your body on the lines, but you did it, and you're beloved as far as that. So there was a moment in ECW, and we're going to jump around. We're not going to stay in one spot, but you ended up taking a booking in Japan. over ECW. Again, something you've probably talked about before. What was the decision behind that? And ultimately, they did bring you back. How much heat was it with Paulie?
The thing was, I was making way more money in New Japan than I was in ECW. And New Japan says, we're going to put you on this show, but can you come back next show, April 8th? And I go, yeah. The first other show is March like 12th or something. He goes, can you come back April 8th? I go, yeah. Then when I get back home, Paul goes, you got a show April 8th here. I go, well, I'm going to cancel it because they're paying me 6 times more in Japan than that you're paying me here. Nothing personal, but I need the money.
No brainer. That's a no fucking brainer.
Nothing personal. And he goes, no, you're taking this date because you made the commitment. I said, well, I'm uncommitting it. And I'm telling you now, this is 3 weeks in advance. And then he kept calling me every day saying, say you're going to be there. I said, no, I'm not going to be there. Finally, the day before, I was supposed to fly to Japan. And 2 days before the ECW show, he goes, tell me you're going to be there. I said, no. He goes, just tell me you're going to be there. I said, all right, I'm going to be there, but I'm not going to be there. And he goes, I swear to God that I'd be there. I did not. I would not swear to God.
No.
The only thing I'd do was swear to God that I have to make the money. I'm sorry, and I'll be back. I'm sorry. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. So I said, okay, goodbye. I'll see you in another life. So I went. Also, I said to him, I'm going to try to make it back the same day to be on your show, in which I did sort of try, but there was no flight to get in time, But I could have flew back because it was April 12th in Japan, April 8th in Japan. And after I got done, it would have been April 8th in the United States, same day almost. And but when I landed, it was way past midnight and it wasn't even close. I landed in Detroit way past midnight. I wasn't even in Philadelphia yet.
Well, I'll say this, and anybody I've talked about.
But I tried, fuck him.
No,
I tried, but I didn't make it. I was stupid, I guess.
I think that
I was stupid. I was hungry, I guess.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like I'll say this: you got to look out for yourself, right? And especially from anybody I've talked to.
Well, not all the time, but I always looked out for others until then. Yeah. And then everybody telling me, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Benoit, and even Taz said, take the money, don't fuck up your Japanese company, don't fuck it up. I said, okay, no big deal. And then they motherfuckered me once they said I wasn't coming. Go, yeah, that fucking Japan, fuck Sabu. I told him to come, you should have been bullshit. All 5 of them told me, what the fuck it's not a decision, take it.
So I've never heard that. This is breaking for me because I've never heard that. But see, the people that I've talked to,
it was all because of money and situation. I didn't have much money, and Paul did, and so he couldn't understand the difference. And whatever. I regretted it. I wish I would have did it because it did hurt a relationship, but I had to do it. It was 6 times as much money.
Well, let me say this, and I hope this puts your mind at ease in a lot. The people that I've talked to that have booked you, that have talked to you, said you're on time, you're always clear, you always say this. If I can't talk about your business and wrestling because I wasn't there, I never booked you as far as a wrestler, but I will say this: your integrity as far as talking to people and being personable and giving of your time has always been fucking top shelf, and I appreciate you like hell. Behind the scenes, and I like to do that with the people that watch this. I messaged the guy about a month ago, and I said, "Look, this is what I have, this and that." And you said, "Well, usually it's this." A couple weeks later, you said, "Hey, are you still what?" I said, "Yeah, sure." Man of your word, you didn't fucking shortchange me, and you were here on time. Hell, I was running late, and you were still good on my end. So for anybody like needs to book Sabu, he's fucking aces. All right. Fucking fantastic to deal with. No fucking issues. No fucking, hey, well, I need this. No, you've been perfect. So thank you for that.
Thank you, man. I even had people say, like I pull a fast one, put somebody over, but I would tell them in advance, I want so much to lose. I wanted more money to lose. So most of the time they picked for me to win. It was less money. So when I was going out there to win, going out there to lose, I said, you're going to pay me double. They go, what's this? Trying to pull this shit. I go, no. You know that we had the agreement from last time. It stays on this time. You want me to win, set lower money. You want me to lose, it's higher money. And they said I tried to pull it on at the last minute. I just mentioned it at the last minute. I just wanted to remind them, and they said, no, that's a fast one. I go, no, that's not a fast one.
And I think I agree with you on that one because I mean, hell, if you're losing, you're diminishing your value.
They're using me to get someone else over, and then leave me in the roadside. So in order for me to sacrifice that for them, they got to give me something extra.
Absolutely.
That's only business. And I'm sorry.
So as far as that goes, you were teamed up with Taz when he was a Taz Maniac. Tell me about that tag team. What were your thoughts on that tag team?
I didn't have much thoughts on it then. I was still growing so fast that I didn't really want to tag with anybody, nothing personal with Taz, but I didn't want to tag with anybody. I didn't even want Paul Lee giving me any advice because I had so much my own advice to give out, what I haven't yet at the time, you know. So, and Paulie never really gave me advice. He didn't even really try, other than wanting me to wear that fucking Hannibal Lecter mask and ride the gurney. Other than that, he just said, because I want to talk to you before the match. He pulls me aside. I go, what? He goes, I want you to do something amazing. I go, that's it? He goes, yeah. I go, all right. That was it. That's the only advice he'd ever give me.
So, okay.
He never would say, do this bump, do that bump, or do this, don't do that. Never, none of that. Anything I said or wanted to do was fair game.
So I'll put it this way. And again, I'm channeling back to like a teenage version of me, Tape Trader. The first time I saw you, you walked out. I didn't really think, I saw videos of you after the gurney, but when you walked out, you had the wet hair, you came out, you had a look, you had a feel. For me, I don't think the gurney was necessary because you carried yourself. You were very silent, very stoic. But when you got in the ring, that's when the shit happened. Like your body was covered in scars. And like I said in the intro of this, your body is a roadmap of all of your greatest work. That you didn't need the fucking gimmick because you were Sabu. And people needed, keep watching. You'll figure out who the fuck this guy is. You were basically doing things that nobody else was doing. One of which I'll talk about, the chair spot. No one uses a chair like Sabu uses a chair. You put the chair down, you step on it, you jump on the ropes, you do the moonsault over. Where did that come from? What was like the psychology of that? Talk about that.
Well, when I was in the early days of Japan, 90, 91, 92, 93, every time I went home and came back to Japan, I would invent a new move. So I was getting tired of getting hit with the chair. So I said, I'm going to think of something else to do with the chair. I go to hit the guy, and I'll set it down. Then I'll go to hit the guy, I'll set it down. Then I'll jump on it. Then I'll set the guy. You know, I kept making variations in practice. And then when I got to the ring in Japan, you know, I slowly started jump. First set the chair up and jumped, then jumped the chair up and kicked, then jumped the chair up to the top rope, then jumped the chair up to the back flip, then jumped the chair to the dive outside. Each time was a different tour. Yeah. So every time I came, they called me the flying magician at one point because they never knew what I was going to do. Even though they seen what I was doing, they didn't know what I was going to do because I never did it before. I kept changing it.
Again, because you were very innovative. One of your finishers, which I love, was the Atomic Arabian Face Buster, where you take the chair, put it under your legs, do a flip, and land on some bitch.
Yeah, see, that's actually called the rolling Atomic Arabian Face Buster because I'm rolling. You know?
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, that was kind of hard to do. That's why I didn't do it that much.
But it was class. Every time I saw it, that shit looked like it fucking hurt. But
yeah, it hurt both of us. If I did it right, it hurt us both. So I didn't do it that much. You know, I didn't do it that much.
You would make your triumphant return. You would show up in the ring, the lights would go out, and you would be face to face with Taz. It would be before the first ECW pay-per-view, Barely Legal. So if you go back in the history of ECW, not just ECW, but wrestling, you were the main event of the first ECW show. You took up the posters. To some guys bitching about it, but you took up the fucking poster, and it was you and Taz. Tell me about the significance of that moment, standing in the ring with him, pointing up to your uncle, paying homage. Where was your head in that moment?
The thing was that poster was Paul's idea. Well, that could have been Taz's idea, but Paul approved it. So all the heat should have went to Paul, not to Taz or me. I didn't care either way. But it wasn't Taz's, approval. It was Paul's. But anyways, my heart was pounding. I don't know. It was a cool moment. It was awesome. Leading up to that point, he chased me for a year. That's because I didn't want to wrestle him. And every time he called me out, I ignored him, and Paul couldn't stop him from calling me out. He'd go off cue and start calling me out for no reason, and I wouldn't come out. I wouldn't even watch the monitor. I go, why am I watching it? Because I'm not going to do anything. I don't give a shit. That's not the match. My match is somebody else tonight, not him. So no matter who he wrestled, he'd call me out. And then finally, when we got the pay-per-view, we announced I'm going to wrestle him. And then we did the lights out, lights on me, in the ring with him. But before that, he called me out every week. And I wouldn't respond to it. And he wasn't doing it because he was told to. He was doing it because he was mad. He was really pissed off at me.
Was he mad about the whole Japan thing, or was he mad?
Yeah, he acted mad about that. But then that's what made him. When I went to Japan, he was Fred Flintstone, Tasmaniac.
Yeah.
When I came back, when I no-showed ECW, and when I came back, he was the pissed off Taz that could talk, the suplex machine, And that's what made him. Was him talking, not acting like Fred Flintstone or Barney Rubble, barefooted with his fur over his shoulder. You know what I mean?
I've never heard it put like that.
That was a joke compared to what he really had in him. It was in his heart, which was he hated me at the time, and he just spoke from his heart. None of it was written or thought about. It was he just said, "Fuck him, fuck Sabu. What about me?" And he was right. What about him? Fuck him.
Well, see, it was beautifully done. I'll say this: you brought a monster out of him, that sawed-off monster that he was, and I will give you credit for that because
it made who he was. Him being mad at me. If he was never mad at me, he'd still be Fred Flintstone, the first match guy.
So the match happened. I will look. Credit to Taz, credit to you. It was by far one of the best matches technically. I've never seen you do such a technical match with somebody as that. Like you and him had definite chemistry, whether you were tagging.
The best match I've ever had, my most memorable match I've ever had in ECW was the very first match I had against Taz when I rolled the gurney out there, started throwing chairs for the people.
Yeah.
And all that bullshit. And I was wearing blue pants. I remember that, blue with white boots. And that was my most memorable match, and that was probably my best match on ECW, I would say, over Van Dam, over everybody, even the barbed wire match. I think that very first match I had with Taz was probably my best match.
Y'all just had a chemistry like no other. And and I'm going to go to another match I love that's underrated in a minute, but right now, like that's what you ended up getting choked out to the Kata Hatame, the rear naked choke. The lights hit. You got RVD, you got Jerry Lawler and Fonzie in the ring. At some point during the shoot, Dreamer gets his balls literally busted, and they got to take CCs out of his balls. Tell me about that feud. What was how did you feel about working with Lawler and WWE, the whole WWE side of things?
It was just another day, it was, I didn't really think much about it. I was going where I was pointed to go, They didn't really talk about what did I think about anything or what did I want to do. I just said, "What do you want me to do?" And they pointed me where to go, and that's where I went.
I can dig it. But it was.
I'm not as hard to deal with as people make me out to be.
I don't think you
really
are.
hard to deal with if you have me doing something silly or stupid or something that's not me. That's the only time I'm hard to deal with.
I've never thought. Again, I can only go by the interactions I've had with other people, and I've had one interaction with you from another podcast with someone I worked with before. But you've always been super chill, super cool to talk with. And speaking of chill,
as long as we do what we're both promised, there is no problem.
Exactly. Speaking of super chill, your tag team partner next would be Rob Van Dam. Now that if there was ever a fucking partner for you to have, I feel like you and him just meshed. You're like brothers from another mother. Tell me about your time with teaming up with RVD.
Well, as you probably know, my uncle trained him and me.
Yes.
Trained me first, and then I helped him train Rob and a few other guys. And when it came time to put out, he put out. The other guys fell off to the wayside because they weren't willing to sacrifice like he was in the way I was doing. Although my uncle was a sheik, I still had to pay my dues big
Absolutely.
time and over for years and years.
Well, see, but your uncle was part of that fucking Abdullah the Butcher, Bruiser Brody fucking mentality. You were going to beat your ass. You're going to earn your fucking stripes.
You got to earn your bones, and got to break them on the way,
And I think you were a product of that. Like I will always give Raven credit as well because I think y'all two are the last ones that really went through that fucking hard knocks ass whooping shit. In my opinion,
there's a few other guys, but we were the last ones to give up on it where we changed it, but not the hard knocks, but just change the style of wrestling,
And you did. I mean, like again, no one can deny the contributions you've given. Speaking of contribution,
when I broke into business, the work rate was really bad. It was, go as long as you can and not do as much as possible. Like go out to stand in front of the people as long as possible and don't do anything. And I didn't understand that. And my uncle said, don't follow that. So I didn't. So every second I had in the ring, I made do of it. And that became the work rate then. About 9 years later, that became the work rate, the normal work rate, the way Benoit and Guerrero and them guys work. They followed my lead, shit.
I'll say this: you paid a lot.
They followed my lead. They did that. When it came to work rate, those guys don't work it hard before. They only worked hard when they worked with each other. They never worked hard with anybody else because everybody else would frown on it. So for me, So and I worked hard with everybody. When I wrestled Terry Funk, he was the first guy of his stature to let me do my shit against him without question.
That's what I wanted to do.
He goes, "What is that?" I go, "I'll show you." And then boom, I do it, and then I do it again, and whatever. He was the first guy of his era that said, "Sabu, man, let's do it." Everybody else is saying, "You're gonna hurt me."
Well, I'll say this: there's two matches I want to talk about that do involve Terry Funk. It was the first ever between you, the franchise Shane Douglas, and Terry Funk, the three-way dance that changed the way people looked at ECW. How did it feel to be part of that historical moment and put in the effort you did? I mean, I remember you being carried out in that match because y'all put some work in on that match.
Yeah, well, we didn't know what we were doing. We're just having a match, and the match plan was after 15 minutes, I hurt my knee, and then I go out for 15 minutes, and I come back in. So actually, I only do 45. Yeah. Terry Funk only does 45, but Shane did the whole hour.
Because you want to elevate him to be your new top guy. Yeah.
Me and Terry was already there. We're bringing Shane back up, bringing up with us, and then it was like the triple main event right there.
You kind of had your work.
That's probably the first time that I've heard of a three-way match, I think.
Well, I mean, I'll put it this way: you had work to do because you gotta elevate a guy from being a dynamic dude to the fucking franchise.
Yeah, well, when I came in, I beat him for the ECW title, but still, he didn't have the oomph like he did after the three-way.
After that, he was a fucking shit talking badass motherfucker.
People listened to him, even I did. I don't like interviews and talking, but when he did them, I watched them. Not because he's talking about me when he did them against anybody.
Yeah, I think I can quote it. It was him and Sherry Martel where they goes, "I took the crazy man of wrestling, Sabu, and blew his knee to obliterate." And
something like that. Yeah.
I got the Funk family to finally the fucking Funk family. I was like, shit. But he had it, right? He had it. But y'all had again another guy you had great matches with. And the other match I want to talk about, as far as you and Terry Funk, was the infamous barbed wire match where you fucking cut open your bicep. You hauled over to Fonzie, said, "Hey, give me something. Give me some duct tape, something." And you continued the fucking match. Tell me about that. How much pain were you in? You said at one point you cut it so deep you'd gotten past the blood. You were just muscle. How do you make it through that with it being so clean?
Well, if I was in shock at first, I like, oh my God, like what the fuck just happened? And I was looking at my arm and looking at the barbed wire. And I go, oh fuck, that's what happened. I didn't stick like I thought. What I was trying to do, I was trying to jump off the chair, give it a kick in the corner, have Terry Funk move, and I was going to stick to the barbed wire. I hit it. I slipped off the barbed wire, and it went zing, like a sword, ping. And it was anyways. It was so deep and it was white, and like you could just see my tendons and my vein start squirting out, just squirting out of my vein, not even getting on me. So I said, grab me some tape. I was trying to detour the blood to squirt onto me instead of wasting it shooting on the mat. Like you really couldn't tell, but it wasn't bleeding on me. It was almost clean. So when he got me the tape, I cut off the circulation, and then I was a little bit lightheaded at first, but then when I got my shit back together, I knew I'd be all right because my arm was numb. It wasn't gonna bleed out.
I think you went on record and quoted as saying, "No, I continued the match." I mean, it wasn't like it was like, what made you want to continue the match? So, well, it wasn't like it was dislocated or amputated or some shit or fucking cut off. I could still go. Do you realize how tough of a son of a bitch you are? I mean, fuck.
Well, the thing was, it took them, 45 minutes to set that barbed wire up. I couldn't go out in 5 minutes. No way. Even if my arm fell off, I'd have to at least drag her out for a couple more minutes. And when it first happened, that's what I thought I was going to have to do, drag her out for a few more minutes, and we're going to have to get out of there before I bleed to death. But then after I cut the circulation off, I knew I was safe.
Well, see, my thing is, fuck anybody who says you weren't a fucking, like, you didn't contribute and shit. Like, look, you have your fucking arm fucking cut in pieces and you want to continue the match. Fucking, we got guys that get their finger broken and, don't the X's, I got to go.
I don't blame them for what they do. I just, I think it's a little disrespectful not giving me the knowledge, for persevering through shit like that, like, I don't know, most of the people like Vince and Eric Bischoff, they thought I was so reckless that they didn't know it was going to be my last match. One time, one of them referred to, you can watch Hogan and Flair in their last match, or watch Sabu and every match is the last match, or something like that, which was to me was a compliment. I had him fooled too. They thought I was killing myself so much that every match could be my last, and they were half right, but they're mostly half wrong.
But my thing is this: you suspended reality? Oh, Hogan. Look, I've said it before with other people. Hogan may have put a company on his back. Great, he was great with merchandising, but you suspended belief. I was a kid.
Yeah, people believe every time I wrestled could be my last match, and that's what we needed to keep wrestling alive. to rebirth it.
But see, like look at the current aspect of wrestling, AEW and all these other companies. They do high spots. They do stuff that you invented, you created, and it's the lifeblood of what wrestling is now. And we wouldn't have it if we didn't have wrestlers like you in the past to say, look, wrestling's changing. The days of fucking headlocks and fucking arm draggers is going out the window. Let's get ahead of the curve. Did you feel good to at least know that people like have taken your work rate and your ideas and evolved them in a way?
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I was on the Jericho cruise a couple weeks ago with a lot of AEW guys, and they all like gave me tons of respect, more than I thought. I didn't think they knew who I was, and most of them told me how much I inspired them and shit like that. And I wanted to start correcting them, but I didn't want to think I was trying to be a bitter asshole, because I don't really agree with all the bumps with jumping on the five guys, everybody doing a flipper, whatever. I don't agree with all that, but I'm not going to say nothing like that.
Well, tell me what you think about that. Like it's cool. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I didn't have time, and it would be too many guys I'd have to correct. I didn't want them thinking I didn't like them, and I did like most of them.
So for being the guy who's called homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, like in the experiences I've had with you, you're a super fucking chill, nice guy. Like you're really just a guy who likes his wrestling and does fucking crazy spots, but you're not the fucking character. You're a nice guy who just likes to do his job. And
that's what I try to do. That should be the bottom line. It shouldn't even have to be, you don't even have to be a nice guy, just as long as you do your job,
Yeah.
And I got criticized for doing my job and then doing other stuff.
So a match that I loved, and a lot of people don't give it credit, which kind of pisses me off. And it's not a knock at Rob or Cena or anybody else, but they made a big deal at ECW One Night Stand to fucking, it was Rob Van Dam versus John Cena for the heavyweight title. But you know what? There was another fucking title on the line that night. It was between you and Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
And that's a match that I had always loved the idea of, his style and your style. Normally, I think you would work better with a bigger guy, but I think you two had a comparable style that would work. And the match was fucking good. For what it was, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I normally would like a bigger guy like Rhino or somebody like that. I like a bigger guy like that, but Ray's an exception. Yeah. And, it wasn't like we're doing the same moves. He had his moveset, I had my moveset, and it looked like we were having a counter match,
And I figured my thing would have been this. Again, I'm no booker. I'm not in the business. I'm, again, at the base of it, I'm a mark who likes who likes the wrestlers he likes. And if you don't like them, go fuck yourself. I like who I like. So watching you two, I would have loved a whole fucking storyline, and they should have built it for me. Rey afraid of Sabu, the most dangerous high flyer there ever was against the biggest fucking baby face mass luchador ever. You could build on that. Rey being the champion who's afraid of a challenger. Rey being, and again, I think Rey should have gone over, whatever it may be. I didn't like the ending where it was a double fucking count out or both of y'all got carted out, whatever it was. But I would have loved it.
I didn't call the finish. I just called the bump.
And again, that kills me because like you could that's money, and that's a money fucking feud to me. I would have loved to see that. Yeah. So just know that you are appreciated as far as that goes. Like, what did you think about that match? I mean, do you have any high spots of that match? What was your favorite part of that match?
I thought it was an excellent match. I liked wrestling him a lot, more than a lot, And I like the finish, the bump we did for the finish, where it was the DDT through the table. The table slipped a little bit, so it kind of slid it straight to the floor.
I saw that actually.
That was a good double knockout. It just wasn't a good finish, But I didn't. They said do some double knockout, or we both can't continue. And I said I got something in mind. They go, what? And I didn't really tell them. And then when I did that, boom, the referee stood up and did the X because I told him, I said put the X up. That was it. And then the doctor comes running out and said they can't continue. But that was the finish. But the bump was mine. The calling the finish wasn't,
Gotcha.
Won the double knockout, not a double DQ, but a double knockout, and that was the best. I thought that was a good double knockout.
I thought it was a fantastic match. It's one of those I go back to. It's on my repertoire ones that I have to check out at least once a year. I'll watch that match because it was just, for me, there are very few guys that suspend belief. I go to matches like Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker WrestleMania. That was one of those matches, right? That Rey versus you, I can go back and say, wow, this is them really competing and turning entertainment into a sport for me.
Yeah, we could have went a long way to that. I could have wrestled them every week for a year in a different kind of match, but they didn't see it. So what could I say?
And there's no
when I first came in, Paul was the head of the booking. not really over Vince, but over everybody else but Vince.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after about 3 months, they got rid of Paul, and I had nobody helping me out at all. You know, everybody was. I wasn't anybody's favorite when it came to the agents or Stephanie. Stephanie hated me. You know?
Why does Stephanie hate you?
Because well, one day she said you got to do a promo, and I said, fuck it, I can't. You know, she goes, why not? I said, well, I shouldn't because it hurts my gimmick, and I can't do it because I can't read anyways. And she goes, well, just try it. So I'm reading this fucking long ass promo script, and almost laughing. And she goes, wait! It sounds like you're reading. I go, I am reading. Fuck, you think my words? I'd never say these words in the last day of my life. I wouldn't say these words. I go, how about this? And I wrapped it up and walked away, and then popped back in and go, how was that? You know, like that way I look like a rebel, you know, because everybody knows it's a work. Since they give me a script, I won't go for it. And that's why I throw it down. And then she goes, no, do it again. I go, all right, just a minute. And I went outside and boom, I took off. And then 2 days later, she fired me.
Shit, that's it? That's what she fired you for?
Yeah, she fired me the day before the Elimination Chamber match, I think it was.
That's right, because they put somebody, yeah.
Everybody goes, why'd you no show? Why weren't you there? She sent me home the day before on a Saturday and had me escorted to the airport to make sure I left.
Fuck. Didn't know that. That's a new one on me. Well, overall.
And I go, can I eat first? And they go, no, you got to leave right now.
Well, let me ask you this: as far as that WWE ECW run, what were your thoughts first before the firing and all that in the beginning? Paul was getting the book to run this new version of ECW. What were your feelings about that? You were coming in, you were going to get a mainstream fucking highlight on you. What were your thoughts, and how did that go?
I knew I had a feeling it wasn't going to be that good, but I was hoping for the best. You know, I was hoping I was going to be wrong, but I knew there was going to be too many new guys. And them shitting on us as we're too old. Now 40 is the norm. But when I started with WWE, I think I was 39 or 40, and I thought that was considered an old guy, which I wasn't. I was still ready to go. And but now 40, 45, even older, it's okay now, you know. But anyways, I didn't think it was going to go that good, but I thought I could change their mind, or at least change their mind about me. But it didn't work, you know.
I still thought you had some quality work there. There were some good matches. You did some good stuff with the Big Show. You made him look like $1 million. As I said, the match with Ray.
I actually liked wrestling him. He was one of my favorite guys to wrestle. You know, John Cena was fun too, but you know, Van Damme, of course. But Big Show was probably my favorite above or with Van Damme's my favorite match there. You know, he was. I liked wrestling him because he was so big.
So let me say this: your time in TNA.
Easy, but I liked
it. Your time in TNA, I also think was underrated. I talked to him about this, but I'm going to ask you about this. You had a match, and to my knowledge, Raven was not trained by your uncle.
Raven? No. Why would he train by my uncle? Why would you think that?
But there was a match between you and Raven in TNA, and y'all had never wrestled before. You hadn't wrestled in ECW before. You hadn't done it. But this match, he beat up Sanjay Dutt. He kept calling you out similar to the way Taz did. And he was talking about how your uncle loved him more than you because he saw that in Raven, the barbarism that he wanted. And why couldn't you be? And it took you forever. You're looking at a picture of your uncle in the promo. You never speak because, Sabu doesn't talk. And then at the end,
I didn't know he said all that. I had no idea. I didn't see him. I didn't see him do that. That was a different part. That was like a different part of the show, a different part of the arena. He cut that promo. I didn't know.
Yeah, with the whole thing, and it played Sanjay's music in the background. He had beat the shit out of Sanjay Dutt, and then you appear pointing to your uncle, saying you're going to break your uncle's code and you're going to beat Raven's ass. That's what's good. The match happens. It wasn't the best match. Both of y'all are some of my favorites, but it was a good match. As far as like that little rivalry with Raven. In your opinion, why didn't it happen sooner? Why didn't it happen in ECW? And how do you feel about it in TNA?
I don't know why it didn't happen in ECW. It's because we ran out of business, I guess, you know. When it happened, when we did it in TNA, I got sick right after that match, and I was out for a whole year after that. That's why that fell apart. Otherwise, even if we had a good match, a bad match, that first one, that didn't even matter. That was the tip of the iceberg. We were going to have a series of different matches after that, probably 10 different kind of stipulations matches, you know, chair match, table match, barbed wire match, fucking electric barbed wire. Like, we're going to go all the way with it. Then I got sick. I caught an infection, and I was out for a whole year from that. Yeah, it was a big mistake, but we never picked up from that. He tried to, we became friends and all that, but we never got matched up again. And TNA kind of was dicks when I was sick and shit. So
Gotcha.
I did come back after that and work for TNA. But
Yeah.
when I was in TNA, I signed the contract that week. I got sick the next week. Dusty Rhodes calls me and says, "We got to clean up and let you go." I go, "What?" And I go, this is before I knew how sick I was. I just knew I was only going to be sick for a week. I said, "I'll be right there next week." He goes, "No, we got to clean up. We got to clean up where, we got to clean up and get budgeted." I go, "What the fuck?" So they fired me 1 week outside after I was sick, So I was mad when I came back, Adam. And so I kind of threw my weight around, but I got away with it for a little while because her dad liked me. Dixie Carter's dad liked me. But after he started giving up on the wrestling, I had nobody liking me no more.
I'll say this. You may have wrestled with an attitude, but you did a damn amazing job getting another big guy over. For me,
Bischoff was there in the office, and Russo. Those guys didn't dig me for some reason. I know Bischoff had a reason to not like me, but Russo didn't. I never knew Russo. Russo never shook my hand, never said hello to me. I don't know why. I don't care.
I have mixed feelings on Russo, and I've talked about it before. I can never deny what he's contributed to the business itself, but in my opinion, I don't think that he was a main event guy. And I was corrected. I don't think he likes the wrestling, but that's me. That's my opinion. That's just, and I could be wrong. But as far as that goes, you did make somebody who I think was floundering at the time. Abyss was a big guy who he lost a majority of his matches, and it was like I didn't get it. But when you and him touched in that barbed wire massacre match, you put him over. You made him look like $1 million. I believe you won the match. Yeah. But he looked like that was when he carved his niche for me, in my opinion, into becoming that hard. He had the monstrous balls. He did this, but it wasn't until you hit that barbed wire massacre match. It wasn't, I would say, as gruesome as say the Terry Funk match, but you did what needed to be done. Tell me about your feelings on the barbed wire massacre match and how that went.
I don't know. He before we go out, he goes, Tell me, how bad is that barbed wire when you hit it? I go, "Man, it ain't shit." So we go out there and he hits it. He goes, "What do you mean it ain't shit?" It was funny, but it was just another match, man. I didn't like it at first. When I went out there, I was a little bit pissed because they put us on first of a pay-per-view. There were 7 matches after us. We were number 1. There was 7 other matches after us, and that didn't make sense.
No,
they said it would take too much time to put up the barbed wire. They put up the barbed wire in 10 minutes, and we had an hour before the show started sitting there with the barbed wire sitting there. And then we come out and give it to them. And then everything was downhill from there. And I was mad. It was still match of the year for that year. I think 2004, 2005 or something. But still, it would have been even better if it was on last.
Because you want to build to that, right? You want that anticipation. Fuck yeah.
Start out with the end of the death match, don't start out with a death match,
Because again, in terms, it's a death match. You want to put that at the end of your fucking show. Yeah. You want that to be the one.
This is very serious. Somebody could be hurt, and if they are, we're going to have to stop the show. So we're going to put this on last because it's so dangerous. It'll scare the people. But no, they say put it on first because it's a work and got to do it quick.
How was it working with Abyss? He was a big guy like you like.
He was good. I like wrestling him. Other than he sometimes tried to wrestle like a junior heavyweight, but I got him to he used to always want to fly and stuff. And I told him, that's not. He shouldn't do that. He's too big to do that. Not that he can't do that, but that's
the point. There's an etiquette to the way you do things.
Yeah, so, and he always wanted to use thumbtacks, and every time he used them, he always got turned around, and he got used. He had to think about it. I just don't even think people see that. So I said, finally, when you put the barbed wire or the thumbtacks out, we're going to reverse it, then I'll take it, and then I did. But I didn't want to.
Well,
I just did it because.
You were, in my opinion, like I said, I don't. This is the first time I've actually had a legitimate time to sit down and talk to you, and you've been nothing but a gentleman, and you've been awesome, and I love talking to you. But you've always, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, again, you've always been caring about getting your opponent over, if the right way. Like like hell, taking the thumbtacks. You were, look, as far as Abyss and you go, you're up here on the card because you're fucking Sabu. But you're like, no, I'll take the fucking tax. I got you. We're gonna get you over. Do you feel like that mentality is lost in wrestling now? Do you think it's gone back to the old ways of those old guys trying to keep their spots?
I don't know. I'm not that in touch with now wrestling. I just watch a little on TV, but I don't really follow it, and I don't know. I don't, what can I say? I'm not. The business changed so much since when I started to where it is now. It's changed 3 or 4 times before it has gotten to now. With the Attitude Era and then our era and all that shit. It changed 3 or 4 times in front of our eyes. So it's going to change again. And then the guys now will be out of touch then.
Well, let me ask you this, because we're about to come up on time. And again, you've been gracious with your time. What is your favorite match in your career? What is the one that you look back and go, that was a hell of a match?
Probably the Taz match, the first match I had. I don't know. There's probably a couple in Japan. I wrestled Terry Funk in Japan before I had a barbed wire match with him, and that was pretty memorable and very good. And wrestling Taz for the first time in ECW in '93, that was very memorable. And then every one I've had with Van Dam was memorable.
Fuck yeah, you and Van Dam were made to wrestle each other.
Yeah, we fit each other very good. Yeah.
What would you call your worst match?
One time me and Taz wrestled Public Enemy. That was probably my worst match. That was terrible.
Hey, God rest Johnny and Rocco. Y'all, God rest your soul.
I love both those guys, but that was one of our worst matches. It was like pulling teeth. That's the first time I experienced being stuck out there with somebody you can't wrestle.
Ugh, sorry to hear that.
And there was a tag match, so I couldn't wrestle either one of them. Man, I can't wrestle either one of these guys. I can't do nothing with my stuff. I can't do my shit with them.
So let me ask you this: you said you were at the Jericho Cruise. What's the future for Sabu? What are you doing? What are you getting into? What is Sabu doing nowadays?
I don't have no future. I'm just doing autograph signings on the weekends, and that's about it, really. My back is hurt, and my knee is hurt, and my shoulder, and I need a knee replacement, and a shoulder replacement, and something with my back too. So I'm done wrestling for a while.
Let me ask you this: that woman right there on your side, she was a wonderful inspiration to a lot of people. She was fantastic. I loved watching her. I loved Fonzie. I thought Fonzie was great, but even Fonzie, I don't think she did as well. He did as well as what she did in the time I got to see y'all together. I'm gonna get choked up because I loved seeing you happy.
Fonzie was good in his own way too, but Melissa gave me more life. A few more years more than I had because she helped me out so much in the ring. She helped me out like I used to help my uncle. I used to hand him chairs and hold the ropes for him and all that stuff because make it easier on him because he was old. And she was doing it for me, but I wasn't quite as old. I am old now, but anyway.
I love the gimmick. And I'll agree with you. Like, I think she gave you another 5-10 years. It's tragic. I was following you on Twitter when we saw that went down, the way it went down. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm going to try to put something in here to just honor her memory. And again, you have been you're not just a homicidal, suicidal, genocidal Sabu. You're a good guy, and I appreciate you coming on and just giving me of your time because I know you're busy, you got shit to do, but thank you so much for sitting down, talking to me. I want you to know that I truly believe wrestling would not be what it is without Sabu. The guys and girls that are coming through now, that are doing the crazy, amazing things they do, would not be who they were without the inspiration of Sabu. When you say that you didn't know if they would recognize you, you can't have a wrestling business right now without knowing who Sabu is. You're one of the forefathers of not just extreme wrestling, but innovation. So whatever you do, wherever you go, know that. Please remember that you are, at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you're fucking Sabu. And no one can take that from you.
Thank you, brother.
So that being said, if you'll give me 5 minutes of your time, we're going to cut it out, and I'll put our outro out here. But once again, thank you guys for you got me all emotional, motherfucker. Damn it.
Sorry about that.
Oh, man. That being said, I'm Dan. That's the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal Sabu. We'll see you when we see you.
Okay, man. Thank you.